Two men sharing the stage with a woman who handed them essentially a golden microphone with an audience of millions. The single most valuable endorsement in the history of daytime television. One of them now runs Medicare and Medicaid for your United States government. The other is tagging along on an ICE raid for content. And when she was asked about it this week, Oprah Winfrey finally said, everybody has their own path in life. And it has not one thing to do with me, and I don't have one thing to do with them. Thanks, Oprah. About that. Phil McGraw was not a TV star. He was a litigation consultant who helped prep Oprah for that mad cow trial back in the 90s. She loved the way he spoke, called him practical and down to earth and real, so she gave him a weekly slot in front of the biggest daytime audience in America. 4 years later, he had his own show. Then you've got Dr. Mehmet Oz, a surgeon that nobody outside of a hospital had ever heard of. And he went on her show in 2004, and her own production company launched his show 5 years later in 2009. That is something that she paved for them, laid out in front of them. You get a show, you get a show. Nobody accidentally becomes Dr. Phil or Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz spent a decade selling fake miracle diet supplements to daytime television and now is in charge of the health coverage of tens of millions of Americans. The guy who tried to tell you that green coffee beans would cure everything. He's in charge of Medicaid. There are people out there whose insulin decisions route through a bureaucracy run by a man who once told a studio audience literally about magic beans.
I think magic is make-believe, but this little bean has scientists saying they found a magic weight loss cure for every body type. It's green coffee beans.
And for Phil McGraw, not a medical doctor, and has not held a psychology license in decades. We see him riding along with ICE on a raid in Chicago to get, in his words, or the words of his network, a first-hand look at the operations. Daytime TV host embedded with federal agents that are snatching people off the streets for his content. I've got to ask you guys, how much does a platform owe you for what you build with it? I mean, she platformed these people. Oprah handed these people essentially a golden microphone. So is she in any way responsible for what they became? Or has it been long enough that we can look the other way? I want to hear both sides of this because I do know that I hear both sides. I say it myself because Oprah didn't know what they would become, but then again, she gave them the platform. And I want to be fair here because she is not the villain here. She did not make either of these men choose the paths that they eventually took. Her line about the intention behind it, she thought that they had valuable information to share that had been meaningful to her. And I genuinely believe that. And in 2004, that was probably true. But the answer that she gives is the same answer that every institution, every corporatist, every rich person gives now. Not one thing to do with me. That's what CNN says about Scott Jennings after they booked him for years. That's what a party says after they hear the horror stories about the candidate they funded. This is what a platform says about the influencers they paid. Everybody built the machine, but nobody has anything to do with what the machine makes. Because over the last 20 years, American celebrity is just a laundering machine for credibility. You can't get a stranger to trust a doctor, but you can get them to trust a TV doctor. So you put them on daytime TV, it takes the trust the audience gave to Oprah, and it handed it to a man with a stethoscope, a catchphrase, and then 30 years later, that borrowed trust is in the White House, writing rules about whether or not your grandmother can afford her healthcare coverage. And the corporate media, they've never once shown accountability for this pipeline because it's their business model. Bookers don't chase the correct guest, they chase the guest who moves the meter. Ratings. It's the same instinct that turned this trial consultant into a household name. It's the same instinct that keeps handing microphones to whoever is the loudest right now with no accountability. So no, it's not really about Oprah. It's the fact that America, right now, fame becomes a qualification for governing. It's how we have Donald Trump in the White House. And nobody, not a single person who built that system, wants to be standing near it. So that's why I'm going to ask you to hit that notification icon, because you didn't see all of this reported in the corporate networks. They're not spending segments asking questions about how their own star ended up staffing federal agencies.